Hello and welcome to the Pollinators, bees. We're talking about the champion pollinators. My name is Christine Garrett and I am an adult reference librarian here at the Elyria Public Library at the West River branch. Now today we are talking about bees, the pollen-seeking magnets who are purposely going from flower to flower, collecting nectar and pollen for food for themselves and their young. Now as far as pollinators go, the bee is your super pollinator by far. And even though the European honeybee seems to be the one everyone knows about, there are actually hundreds of other species that pollinate crops and natural plants. Now you might ask, why are bees important? Well, just so you know, 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat, you're eating because of a bee. Most crops grown for their fruit, such as vegetables, nuts, seeds, cotton, and hay, require pollination by insects, and bees are the main insect pollinator. They are maintaining natural plant communities and ensuring production of seeds in most flowering plants. Now, what is pollination? Well, that is the transfer of pollen from the male flower to the female flower of the same species, resulting in the fertilization of the plant. And if you don't have that fertilization, no fruit, no vegetables, nothing is produced. And bees, they're out there pollinating fools. They are the numero uno pollinator. And the numero uno bee pollinator in your area is your native honeybee. They are the superstar of pollination. They are tireless volunteers that are working constantly to pollinate a variety of native plants in your area. And they make excellent pollinators because they're out there collecting nectar for their young, and every time they stop to pick up nectar, they're picking up pollen. And every time they stop to get more nectar, they're dropping off pollen. And all this pollen collection, the plants are aware that they're getting taken care of by these bees, so they are producing nectar, which is a mixture of water and sugars, to reward the bees for all the hard work they're doing. So where are the bees going to live in your garden? How are you keeping them there? Well, most bees dig nests in the ground or nest in pre-existing holes in stems or woods. Bumblebees often nest in abandoned rodent burrows, and feral honeybees like to nest in tree hollows. And they use a variety of materials to build their nests. First off, they produce beeswax, and then they use pieces of leaves, pebbles, mud to form the cells where their little eggs are laid. So what's the buzz on planting a bee garden? How do you plant a garden that's going to attract your pollinators? It's going to get the bees there. Well, first off, you want to put in plants that are going to attract other pollinators, not just bees. You're going to have butterflies, wasps, flies, hummingbirds. Plenty of other insects and pollinators are going to stop by your garden because your garden is a haven that's going to provide a wildlife habitat for most native animals involved in the process of pollination. And bees, they're a watchable wildlife. Sure, chances are you see one, you usually run screaming, waving your hands wildly, but most bees, they're gentle, and unless you provoke them, they're not going to sting you. They're busy. They're searching for nectar, they're searching for food, and they're out there enhancing your garden. They're taking pollen from plant to plant, they're taking the nectar, and they are leaving behind luscious fruits and vegetables and seeds in their wake. So in planting your bee garden, you need to consider how to best use the native annual and perennial flowers, because native wildflowers are going to provide your bee visitors with the nutritious nectar and the pollen they need. Plant breeders don't breed for pollen and nectar. They don't need to. Your native plants do. They've had to attract these bees on their own for a long time. So you want to stick with old heirloom varieties. These are a great choice for your garden. Black-eyed Susans, cosmos, daisies, lupines, mints, the old heirloom tomatoes, cucumbers, plants that have been around for a long time that would grow native and naturally in your area anyway. Also, you got to think about a place where these bees can hide. They need to be able to hide from predators, and they need to find a place where they're safe to build a nest and court a mate and hang out and raise their young. If you're actually really concerned about insect control in your garden, let the spiders build their webs. Let the ants move in. They're going to take care of most of the pesky insects in your garden that are causing trouble. They are worth their weight in gold for controlling insects. So you need to encourage them instead of ripping down their webs and spraying to get rid of them. Now, bees are also going to need a source of water. You don't really want to leave a faucet dripping. Their water bill is going to get really high, but a little pond, a bird bath, even a dish with water set out near them. They don't need a lot of water, but they do need some. Also, you want to leave a patch of bare ground somewhere where they can establish a nest. Or a fun project for you and the family, build a bee house. Or purchase one. You can still sit and watch them busy in their little home. As long as you don't touch them, they're not going to hurt you. Also, let's think about flowers that attract bees to your garden. First off, you want to make sure they're full of nectar. You want them to be brightly colored. Bees can see yellow and blue. They don't see red. They like things that smell pretty. They like things that are open in the daytime, that have a landing platform. They like flowers that are tubular with nectar at the base of the tube. So now you know what you need to do to attract these pollinators to your garden. You need native wildflowers, you need a water source, and you need a place to build their nest. There's some online resources you can use. The Lorain County Beekeepers Association has all sorts of great advice, not only for attracting bees to your yard and garden, but if you want to become a beekeeper. The Ohio Department of Agriculture, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Forest Service, they all have information on putting in pollinator gardens in your area. They'll tell you what plants you need in your area. Those are important. Also, here in the CleveNet system, there's a lot of books available at the library. 3 right off the top of my head were the Bee Friendly Garden, the Pollinator Victory Garden, and the Pollinator Friendly Gardening. And there's many more. We're happy to get them for you, and we're happy to sit and talk about the garden and pollinator gardens with you. As a matter of fact, we here at the West River Branch have put in a butterfly and bee wildflower garden back behind the library. It's a beautiful little spot that you're welcome to come, stop, look at, see what we've got going, what we're doing to attract pollinators to the garden. We also have some pots up front that we're putting in some vegetables. We've got a spaghetti pot, a taco pot. So there's tomatoes, basil, peppers, things you would use to make those meals. And we'd love to talk about any of them here at the library. So please feel free to come in and chat with us. I'd like to thank you for joining me for our discussion on pollinators, the bees. And I would ask you to come back for more virtual presentations on the Elyria Public Library YouTube channel. Thank you and have a good day.